Good afternoon and welcome to your March 8th, 2022 Johnston County Board of Education meeting. At this time, Ms. Dance, we do have a quorum. We have 6 board members present. Ms. Sessoms is out of town, so we'll move forward with the invocation by Mr. Wooten, Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Carroll.
Be with this board and the decisions we make tonight are pleasing in your eyes, and continue to put your guardian angels around our students and our staff, and open up our students' minds where they can learn and achieve, dear Lord. We just give you praise and glory for everything that you do for this system and for us individually. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session for the purpose stated on our agenda. Motion by Mr. Johnston, second by Mr. Byrd. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries 6-0. We'll now enter closed session. Good afternoon and welcome to the Johnston County Board of Education meeting. We have already had our invocation and pledge and gone into closed session, so at this time we'll proceed on with our open session agenda. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for February 8th regular session, February 14th special session, as well as March 2nd special session.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Johnson.
Second.
Second by Ms. Andrews. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. At this time, we will go around for discussion and adjustment to the agenda, starting with Mr. Johnson.
Yes, sir. I'd like to add USDA RUSDLT grant agreement under the consent items, please.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. We'll add USDA grant under the consent items. Mr. Carroll.
Yes, sir. I would like to add an EPA contract under the 11D Human Resources and remove some personnel recommendations.
Okay, we'll add EPI contract under the Chief of Human Resources and remove personnel recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Mr. Byrd.
None.
Ms. Andrews.
No adjustments.
Mr. Wooten.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add North Carolina School Board Association representative for legal committee and put it under section 7E.
Thank you, Mr. Wooten. I have no adjustments, so entertain a motion to approve these adjustments.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Wooten, second by Mr. Johnson. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Dr. Pierce. Excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Avery. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon. These are our COVID-19 updates. Okay. All Johnston County schools and campuses, including transportation, currently are in a mass optional setting. Our COVID-19 metrics, currently we have 3 active staff cases compared to 11 active cases in January the 8th. Currently we have 14 active student cases. Last month, this time we had 78 active student cases. The active staff quarantines and student quarantines are non-applicable at this time. The Johnston County COVID case rate, 202 per 100,000. Our goal is less than 10 per 100,000. The positivity rate, which is a percentage of total tests that are positive, at a 14-day period, we're at 8.7%. In a 7-day period, we're at 5.6%. Our goal is less than 5%. This concludes the COVID-19 update at this time. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Avery. Any questions?
None. We're just thrilled the numbers are coming down.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
And that's what we all wanted. And with this information given, I would make a motion that we, as we are still required to vote, that I would make a motion we remain mask optional within our schools and our transportation. I guess, is that part of the vote now, I guess? So we remain mask optional in all situations.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Andrews, and this is under Senate Bill 654 that we have to continue to vote each month. We have a motion to remain optional on our school sites as well as our buses, and Mr. Wooten has seconded that. Any questions or comments?
I do have a comment that, since our last meeting, the optional part was based on CDC recommendations that the transmission rate be in a low to moderate. We are in that category. We're also near 5%. Another important part of the whole thing that we need to be aware of in your county is your hospitalization. And we're less than 2 new admissions for COVID, and less than 10% of the staff beds are COVID related. And all surgeries have been resumed, so we're not stressing our hospital, and all the data and parameters are within, meets the CDC guidelines.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Mr. Avery for a minute. I know your presentation is short tonight, but that's not indicative of the work you put in gathering this data and monitoring the situation for us. So I do want to take a moment to say thank you, Mr. Avery, for your service in this new role that you might not have been prepared for, but we put you in. So thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. No further comments. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Yeah. All right, at this time, we'll have updates from our committee, starting with Mr. Wooten.
I have no updates.
Thank you, Mr. Wooten. Legal Committee.
Yes, sir. We will be posting on this, and our attorneys have proofed it. We will be posting a position for an attorney to help us with securing the fine and forfeitures that are available within our district. It's a considerable amount of money, so we will be posting that position here soon and receive candidates for interviews for those.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. I'm gonna let you take over our Policy Committee update since Ms. Sessoms is out of place tonight.
Right, we did meet in February. We continue to work on updating our policies, aligning our policies with the state board. Also, we will not meet this month. Ms. Sessoms is out of town, so we will reconvene, I believe, April 7th.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. Mr. Carroll.
And we met with Mr. Brooks Moore to get the initial, I guess, assessment of where we are. We will hear more from Mr. Moore today. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So we'll put that information out. We have had conversations, initial conversations with county commissioners, trying to get to an agreement in terms of what the bond amount might be, just for everybody's information. I think it's April, is that right, Lynn?
Yes, sir.
April that we have to have this information to, the county commissioners actually have to adopt it, and then in May, they go to the local government commission to get it approved. So the process is in place, and so we hope we'll have a whole lot more information for everybody when Mr. Moore gives his presentation today, and it'll be real informative, insightful, and exciting. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. And now we'll go to our NCSBA nominee to represent our board in the on the legal committee for this coming year. So at this time, I'll entertain nominations.
I'd like to nominate Lynn Andrews to serve on that committee.
Okay, we have a nomination and a second for Ms. Andrews. Any other nominations? All right, at this time, we'll vote. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
You good with that? Motion carries 4-0.
Yeah.
Thank you for serving on that committee. No. All right, at this time, Ms. Furr.
Good afternoon, Dr. Bracy, Chairman Sutton, members of the board, and Mr. Malone. It's my pleasure to be before you for our special recognitions this evening. And I believe right now we just have our family members in, so let me first share with you, if your loved one is being recognized tonight, please feel free to move behind the board, around this boardroom. This is your boardroom, so if you want to take photos, feel free to do that. Our first group of special recognitions is for our National Board Certified Teachers. The National Board for Professional Teaching Standards is the organization that sponsors the National Board certification. Advocates for the advancement of student learning and achievement by establishing standards for certifying accomplished educators. Johnston County Public Schools had 7 educators receive their initial certification, and 17 educators renew their certification this year. National Board Certification is the highest credential in the teaching profession and is achieved through successful completion of a rigorous performance-based assessment. Candidates create a portfolio, which includes student work samples, assignments, videos, and a thorough analysis of classroom teaching. This voluntary and self-reflective process truly tests the capacity of educators to meet the needs of their diverse learners. We have those individuals who completed their initial certification for the first time with us in person this evening, and we wanted to recognize them before you. We've got a little something for them as well. So when I call your name, if you will, please come forward and we'll get your recognition. Karen Lee from West Clayton Elementary. If you will just stand right here for me. Ricka Lee Williams from West Johnston High. Ashley Holloman from Corinth Holders High. Christy Spate from Dixon Road Elementary. Reagan Schmidt from Archer Lodge Middle. Thank you. Miriam Duran from Smithfield Selma High. Thank you. Thank you. And last but not least is Miss Stacy Carr from Riverwood Middle. All right, and we're just going to say a little bit more about you while you're up here, if that's okay. 17 educators also renewed their certification. That was Miss Lisa McDowell from Benson Elementary, Sean Moore Eatman from Corinth Holders Elementary, Karen Camello from East Clayton, Catherine Moore from East Clayton, Lauren Strickland from Four Oaks Elementary, Paula Parker from Four Oaks Elementary, April Lee from Four Oaks Middle, Allison Siverson from Glendale Kenley, Lori Sharp from McGee's Crossroads Elementary, Mary Sills from Meadow School, Jennifer Bear from Pine Level Elementary, Michael Barnett from North Johnston High, Lena LaBouffe from Polenta Elementary, Jan Kemple Stevenson from Princeton Middle High, and Alicia Stevenson from Princeton Middle High, Samantha McDonald from Riverdale Elementary, and Emily Scott from West Johnston High. We want these educators to know that we're extremely proud of your hard work, and it is most certainly not lost on us that they received this certification during arguably one of the most challenging times during education. So please join me in giving them a round of applause. Thank you. And Mr. Sutton, if it's okay with you, we're going to do our Employees of the Month next since they're here in person.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have the honor and privilege of standing before you and recognizing 2 wonderful employees. First, I would like to ask Ms. Tammy White to come join me. Ms. Tammy White is our Classified Employee of the Month for March. She serves as a teacher assistant at Micro Elementary School, and she was nominated by her principal, Mr. Parrish, who was here supporting her. Mr. Parrish had wonderful things to say about you. I'm going to read a few of those to the board. Ms. White is the model employee at Micro Elementary. She is very outgoing. She is a huge help to all of her coworkers, and most importantly, the students. She truly has a heart of gold. She is also a bus driver who does a phenomenal job each day transporting our kids to and from school. She also is super quick to step up as a substitute driver as needed. She often does this after a full day's work and after driving in the morning. Her can-do spirit, positive attitude, and heart for kids is contagious. And they say, we are so lucky to have Miss White at Micro. Miss White, thank you so much for all that you do each and every day, and congratulations. And if you'll stand with me just a moment, we'll recognize our next person. But thank you so much. We appreciate all you do. Our certified employee of the month is Miss Susan Kelly. Miss Kelly is our lead social worker. She serves at West Campus, but she also serves as South Johnston High School social worker, which is why Mr. Weaver is here. Now, we did not plan this, board members, but it just so happens that you were selected, and this week is School Social Worker Week, March 6th through the 12th. So that happened well. The stars aligned. So we want to thank all of our school social workers. They do an outstanding job, and thank you for being here and representing them today. Lots of things that were shared about you. You actually had two of your colleagues, social workers, who nominated you for this recognition, and I'm going to read a portion of that to the board. They say that Susan supports the social workers in navigating how best to support our students, families, and staff. Her authenticity and natural ability to work collaboratively with others is invaluable. She works tirelessly to support the other social workers by answering your phone, responding to emails. How many of those do you get? Being available for consulting and supervising, and always responding with grace. She has a determined mindset that is always based in problem solving. In addition to all of the leadership and guidance she offers so many, she supports South Johnston High School as their social worker. She is a true leader and a mentor who works to build capacity and confidence in other professionals. They say she is very deserving of Employee of the Month. Ms. Kelly, congratulations on being our Certified Employee of the Month. We appreciate all that you do for the school system and at South Johnston High School. And congratulations to both of you. And if y'all want to walk around and meet the board, if you want to walk around and greet the board. And also Dr. Allen is here supporting social worker as well. I failed to mention that. I'm sorry. Ms. Kelly, congratulations again. That's for you. Thank you so much. And Ms. White, there you go. Thank you so much. Congratulations again. Thank you.
Now we're going to take it back to our character education students who we are going to continue to recognize virtually this month. We're going to start with Mr. Carson Bird, a 5th grade student at Powhatan Elementary, where Mr. Dan Kerwin is principal. Carson is being recognized for demonstrating respect. Mr. Kerwin said that Carson shows respect for all teachers and staff in the school building. He says thank you when someone helps him with a task or gives something to him, even if it is work to be completed. He thinks about how his classmates can be included in a task or game at recess, and will even suggest ways to modify it so that more people can participate. Multiple staff members comment on how he is just a great student whose kindness shines through in everything he does. Through perseverance and a positive attitude, he works hard while still recognizing the effort of those who have helped him along the way. We want to congratulate Carson. I really like his grin in that photo. Next, we have Mr. Aaron Murray, a 4th grade student at Riverwood Elementary, where Miss Lee White is principal. He is being recognized for demonstrating compassion. Miss White said that he cares for all of his classmates, and this is evident by his kind words and thoughtful actions he does for his peers. He goes out of his way to lend a helping hand to teachers, friends, and other students just because that is in his nature. He is always concerned about the well-being of others, and he is encouraging to those who are around him. He is a blessing to teach every day, and his smile lights up the world. Aaron is always prepared for class with a positive attitude. He works hard even through challenging tasks. He works diligently each and every day in order to continue to progress in school. Aaron is an inspiration to the students and staff at Riverwood Elementary. Next is Mr. Brennan Chambers, an 8th grade student at Riverwood Middle, where Miss Sharon Bryant is principal. Brennan is being recognized for responsibility. Ms. Bryant said that Brennan is a responsible and respectable young man who is always helpful to his peers and teachers. He takes his academic work seriously and is always asking questions to ensure he has completed work correctly. He follows directions well and is always helpful in class. He always has his work done on time and turned in before the due date. He is polite and always the first to volunteer. He is well liked among his peers and willing to help a friend in need. When students are asked to clean up after lunch, he is always the first to do so and without complaint. As an athlete, Brennan plays on the basketball team and balances responsibilities to the team and schoolwork very well. So congratulations to Brennan. Next is Miss Olivia Mae Ford of Selma Elementary, where she's a third grade student, and Miss Maritza Rosado is principal. She is being recognized for compassion. Ms. Rosado said Olivia regularly exhibits her concern for others and their well-being. She expresses compassion for others by how she steps up to her classmates. She goes out of her way to be kind to others and picks up on the struggles that her fellow classmates may be having and will come to speak to her principal directly about it privately. On one occasion this school year, a student in the classroom was hesitant to share his paper in front of class on share day, which is optional, but Olivia led the class chant saying, "You got this," and the other student walked up confidently to the front of the room and read his paper aloud. Olivia spreads compassion and kindness from the moment she enters the campus until the moment she goes home. With a sincere and kind smile, she makes everyone around her feel as if they have a friend. I want to hear her chanting now. Oh, my clicker got stuck. Next, we have David Francis, an 8th grade student at Selma Middle, where Mr. Stephen Baker is principal. David is being recognized for perseverance. Mr. Baker said that David is a student that makes sure to say good morning. He also takes the time to see how your day is going, no matter what is happening in the classroom. He is willing to work hard and participate. If he doesn't understand a concept, he is willing to practice more and keep working until he reaches his goal. He cares about the people around him and doing what it takes to be successful in achieving his dreams. He is an asset to Selma Middle School, and his teachers love having him in his class each day and will miss him when he goes to high school next year. Because of his ability to persevere, they are confident in his ability to be successful in high school and beyond. And last but not least, we have Miss Tiana Harding of West Smithfield Elementary, where she is a 5th grade student, and Mr. Derek McNeil is principal. Tiana is being recognized for demonstrating fairness. Mr. McNeil said she encourages her peers to maintain neutrality when an issue arises and is always willing to stand up for what is right and fair with impartiality. Tiana enjoys reading, engaging in science experiments, and learning about history. She has grown in all subject areas this year and has progressed as an emerging leader within the classroom. As an avid elementary scholar, she utilizes the tools and skills for success to operate effectively and collaborate interdependently with everyone. Tiana has a younger brother, Tyler, with whom she enjoys teaching all the things she learns, and she loves helping her mother care for him at home. So congratulations to these wonderful students. Let's give them a round of applause. And that is it for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Furr. At this time, we have no advisory appointments tonight, so at this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Bracy.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Johnston. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Dr. King, we'll call you up, and then right at 6, we'll stop wherever you may be. So, Dr. King.
I'm going to start tonight with our Career Exploration Labs purchase. Our Executive Director of Career and of CCP, Ms. Suzanne Lujan, will come up and briefly explain this purchase for your information. I'm sorry, it will actually be an action item.
Good evening, Dr. Bracy, Chairman Sutton, and the rest of the board members. The Career and Technical Education Department seeks to purchase the curriculum learning management system, equipment and supplies for 39 career modules and teacher training to establish 3 career exploration labs at Innovation Academy, McGee's Crossroads Middle, and Riverwood Middle Schools. These labs will allow the students to explore up to 13 career fields with interactive hands-on activities. We had an RFP, and following a review of the submitted proposals, CTE would request permission to purchase the career exploration labs from Paxton Patterson at a cost of $169,835.
This is an action item. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Johnston, second by Mr. Byrd. Any questions or comments?
The amount you gave, that's for all 3 labs?
Yes. No, it's 13 per site for a total of 39, and the training for 3 teachers and the learning management for 3 different learning management systems for each school.
And I understand this will be like a lab with equipment and things like that, but can you give me maybe an example of what course would be taught or how this will be rolled out and presented to the student body?
Mm-hmm. So it's a career investigations course, and there'll be a 6th grade, a 7th grade, and an 8th grade. And if students take the course all 3 years, they'll get an opportunity to rotate through all 13 of those career modules. And most of the modules are paired with 2 students working in pairs together for about 2 to 3 weeks on one module, and they go through some information. A typical day would be going through a little bit of information on the learning management system and then doing a hands-on activity that's related to that career field. All of the modules have lots of hands-on activities. For example, a nursing module will have arm with blood pressure cuff, and a dental module will have being able to take impressions. And it's similar to STEM labs, but it's not all STEM. So we have some culinary modules. We have modules in all of our career pathways that support, and we specifically picked modules that would feed our career and technical education programs at the high schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have this at any of our other middle schools?
Yes, we have it at 3 middle schools right now. We have it at North Johnston Middle, Smithfield Middle, and Meadow. And it gives, our CTE programs at our middle schools typically have from 2 CTE teachers to 4 CTE teachers. That's our largest middle school. So it limits the amount of opportunity that students have to explore different program areas, because that's, so this gives them an opportunity to explore many with just one course. Yes, it is. So we've been, blessed to have the funds to be able to expand.
And forgive me, I've been out of the middle school for a while now, so would this be in the form of an elective, or would it be like a class coming into a lab to do it as an exercise? How would that be rolled out?
It's an elective.
Now, would it be an elective you choose or get stuck in? How would that work? So it wouldn't be something where you put someone in there who didn't want to be in there, or would it be something that they choose?
Most of our middle schools give choice to students of which electives that they would want to take. But individual middle schools do their scheduling differently, so it depends on the middle school how they would be scheduled in the courses.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. We got time for one more, Dr. King.
I think so. Board members, the next 2 items will focus on the work that we plan to do this summer. I do want to just mention that while we have not provided you with information about our specific summer school plans as of yet, the next two items are items that we need to take care of a bit in advance of that so as to make sure we can move forward as necessary. The first one will be a District C contract, and it will speak to a contract we are preparing to enter into, would like to ask permission to enter into, relative to what will be part of our summer learning work this summer. And Ms. Lujan will be back to speak about that.
Good evening again. So Career and Technical Education seeks to contract with District C, a North Carolina nonprofit organization that partners with schools and districts to facilitate a teamship approach to work-based learning. District C will provide tools, resources, support, and training to implement their method through our CTE Summer Career Accelerator program. In addition to training and certifying CTE staff through the District C Coaching Institute, they will assist Johnston County Public Schools in securing employer partners. Employer partners present a real-world problem they are experiencing in their organization to the students, and through the coaching provided by our CTE staff and the students develop a solution and plan for the employer partner. Student teams present their proposals back to the employer partners and gather feedback from them. The process is infused with problem-solving, problem-based learning, higher-order thinking skills, employability skills, and the application of core academic knowledge to real-world situations. We're seeking approval to enter into an agreement with District C to partner in implementing this component of our Summer Career Accelerator program at no more than $188,960. The final expense is dependent upon the number of teachers and the number of students that we have participating in that particular program. All expenditures will be covered by ESSER 2 PRC 177 Summer Career Accelerator funds.
Thank you. This is an action item. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Johnson. Second by Mr. Byrd. Any questions or comments?
Our previous conversation, has this been one of the earmarked items that we've been talking about? From ESSER funds, I know there was some, we've had funds earmarked for a good while.
For learning
Has
loss
this
for
been-
summer.
Answer that.
Actually, no. So what has happened this year, if you remember back last summer, Mr. Carroll, the state kind of came down and gave us some very a wide-ranging set of parameters for what our summer learning program needed to be like. That was pretty unusual for summer learning. Well, this summer they're taking a different approach. Rather than requiring all counties to do that very wide-ranging program, the state identified and provided two new PRCs, 177 and 176. 177 is this program, what is called the Summer Career Accelerator. 176 is called Summer Bridge. So these are ESSER funds, but these are PRC codes that come from the state that were a part of the state's ESSER allocation from the federal government. So this is not our ESSER allocation.
You were talking about just traditional summer school, right?
What we have been, what our ESSER funds that we're distributing from our allocation.
That is summer school.
Right.
Yeah, that's not this, no.
Oh, yeah, I'm cool.
Now, would this be your CTE staff that works this?
Probably, but
Okay.
it doesn't have to be.
Okay, because this would be your middle school CTE staff?
No, it would be, well, it could be our staff that facilitates it, but we're looking at students in 10th through 12th grade for this program.
So but your CTE teachers, do you have 12-month CTE teachers?
We have some 12-month CTE
Right.
teachers, but not
Right.
the majority of our
Okay.
CTE teachers are 12-month. But if they, our 12-month teachers would not get additional pay to do this unless some
Right.
of the training is outside of
That
their.
was my point. If a 12-month teacher wanted to do this, you're just going to pay them their salary, and the money would be used for
Right.
another teacher.
Mhm.
Use
A
those
lot of
months.
the cost of this is to this organization that is going to get that has the program. It's going to train our teachers. It's going to get the business community. It's going to, coordinate the whole the whole program. This is only a portion that we're targeting our 10th through 12th graders. We have other summer accelerator programs that we're working on for rising 6th through the 9th grade, so that there'll be something for everyone. But this particular one is just 10 through 12.
Any other questions or comments?
I bet I know why you asked that question, Mr. Carroll.
Everybody does. There's no other questions or comments. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Lujan.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll take a brief break to get ready for public comments. 3-minute break. Tonight, we have 8 speakers signed up for public comment. Citizens who have signed up to address the board during public comment will be called upon as they signed up and will have 3 minutes to address the board. The board suggests that specific personnel or student matters be addressed to the school principal, Johnston County Public School System official responsible for the program or facility, or to the superintendent and are not appropriate for this setting. Our first speaker tonight is Ms. Jen Gurley.
Continue to be an ongoing concern in our schools. With a new school year approaching in a few months, I would like to ask the policy committee to review and hopefully end the policy requiring support staff to drive buses. Driving a bus should be an option for staff, as many have expressed to me that there are concerns about this requirement. Many of them feel uncomfortable and are fearful of driving such a large vehicle full of rambunctious students while navigating our crowded roads. I know of several staff with medical exemptions, and against medical advice, they are being forced to drive a bus or lose their job. This practice is highly unethical and unsafe for our children. Additionally, and as it stands currently, it is my understanding that staff are required to pay out of pocket for any damage to mailboxes or personal property that occurs while they drive a bus. The private insurance of staff goes up if they are involved in an accident. Any driving convictions on their record is cause for the employee to be let go of their support staff position because they are no longer eligible to drive a bus. The poor driver from the accident last week was charged with overcorrecting and was seriously injured. If convicted, the staff member will now lose her job for overcorrecting. This shows no support from the district, and this shows no support from the district from a mandate she was being forced to comply with. This is absolutely an unacceptable policy, and our children are the ones facing the consequences of loss of qualified staff because of it. Our district needs to have bus drivers that want to drive and medically cleared to do so. Another concern with staffing is a new change coming to the data managers. Creating a new central office enrollment center sounds promising, but now you're downsizing the data managers, and they're going to be required to go between 2 schools and for less pay because they will receive mileage reimbursement. I have seen data managers who work as team players, and they help fill gaps in staffing to keep our schools running. I've seen them act as a receptionist, a nurse, an administrator, tutor, custodian, and school nutrition to help out. Instead of fixing the staff shortage, this new change seems to create more staffing concerns. How is an elementary front office supposed to run when there is no school nurse, no data manager, no available administrator, and the receptionist is out driving a bus? A secretary simply can't do it all and do it safely. I question if the day-to-day logistics and need for a data manager was ever fully assessed to see their need in our schools. Some of these new positions were magically filled, while other data managers now have to compete with their friends and colleagues to keep their job next year. I am urging and pleading you to reconsider this change. I do believe that the least you could do is explain the reasoning and how cutting frontline positions in our schools is supposed to improve our district. I hope and pray that you do not require repayment of the retention bonus if a data manager loses their position. The health and safety of our students, staff, and our future society lies in your hands right now. Please do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Angie Barber.
Hello, Dr. Bracey, board. February 10th, our data managers met for their monthly meeting. Dr. Pierce and Mr. Petrano, who I very much adore, announced unexpectedly that the data managers' positions were going to be combined. Don't worry, you're not losing your employment because we're posting 11 new positions for over 20 plus employees. You can keep your current pay scale, but you're going to need to reapply. Oh, and seniority doesn't matter. It means absolutely nothing. If you don't get a data manager position, no worries, mate. You can apply to be a teacher assistant, custodian, cafeteria worker, or teacher if you qualify. If none of these work, you can resign. Insert signing bonus strings, which I didn't have a problem with until officially now. We hope to have all positions filled by July 1st, which leaves you months to agonize whether or not you will have a job. Several now have to make a decision, a difficult decision. Some of our county's most reliable employees will be forced or may be forced out of a job. Now I'm going to insert my perspective about these faithful, hardworking, reliable employees. If If you're going to make a decision that impacts eliminating or combining personnel such as data managers, don't just ask the principals, ask the office staff, ask the teachers. How about asking the teachers how important these individuals are to the actual school themselves? If you've never been a part of the opening of a school year, and I mean actually at the school in the trenches, you should not even have a say in this decision. Send out a survey. Ask the teachers, the ones that are in the trenches. Stop making decisions that directly impact schools without asking all the stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. Our next speaker is Ms. Melissa Bowers.
Hey, sorry, I'm always kids in tow, like everywhere I go. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about student retention, and with the end of the year coming up, I'm going to use my own daughter, bless her heart, that she has to hear herself get talked about, as an example. So when we first got our girls into care, my daughter had missed 65 days of kindergarten and was still pushed on into first grade. And I talked to her school that she was supposed to be attending, saying, my child cannot count to 20, and she doesn't know any of her kindergarten sight words. Can you please tell me how she is ready for first grade? And I was told it's not a parent decision of holding a child back. So she went into first grade. She did not do well in first grade. I went and talked to the school again and said, my kid is still struggling. She can't read. Other kids her age are reading. She still is not fluent in math. Can we please hold her back? Again, I am told it's admin decision, not parent decision, to hold a child back, and we have to look at all of many other things. Anyways, all that's to say is I'm wondering when we are going to start. Like, I know that we keep track of retention. I know we keep track of graduation and all of this kind of stuff, but I just feel like pushing our kids on just for the sake of pushing them on is not doing them any favors. She struggled through kindergarten. She struggled through first. She struggled through second. And it's like, if we can hold them back at the beginning when they're getting those fundamentals and those foundations, then we don't have the problem of 8th graders reading on a 3rd grade level. So I feel like when we are coming close to the end of the school year and we're looking at whether our kids are excelling or whether they're severely behind, we need to really look at retention. And I know that's not anything a parent wants to hear, and it's not something that teachers like to do. But as a teacher, I've seen kids fail every class but one and still go on to the next grade. And I'm just wondering, how is that even possible, and how does that help them do better the next year? So I just wanted to kind of like put that in your mind, that that is happening all across our county, where we're just continually pushing kids on that are not ready to move on, and it's causing problems later that could be dealt with early on. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Miss Elizabeth Stevenson.
Hi, my name is Fiona Stevenson, and I'm in 5th grade, and I go to River Elementary School, and I was banned from wearing Nike athletic shorts about 2 months ago to school. I came here today to talk about the dress code. The current dress code states that all students must have shorts above the thigh or longer. It's near impossible to find shorts that fit, feel comfortable, and make you feel confident that fit the dress code for girls. I wear the same thing as other girls in my grade, and they don't get dress coded. I know it's because we all have different sizes, shapes, and body types. We're not all the same, and the same shorts look different on different girls. I get that they are trying to prepare us for middle school, but we are not in middle school yet. All it makes me feel is body shamed, like what am I supposed to wear in the spring? All I am wearing right now is athletic pants and jeans, but it's getting too hot for both of those things. I want you today to reconsider the dress code because the years have changed, so do what girls want to wear. Girls want to feel confident in what they are wearing, not like they are being body shamed. What I want to change is the length of the shorts in the dress code. Not all shorts above the thigh are inappropriate. Please consider my concerns. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Mike Padula. Did I pronounce that right?
You did. Yeah. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I'll make it brief. My name is Mike Padula. I'm the Vice President of Conterra Networks. We provide the internet and infrastructure for the students today. We are one of the largest North America, I would say, independent telecommunications company of fiber optics and network services in the world. Yep, I'm sorry, in North America. Yep. We are based in North Carolina, and my understanding is today that we have 20 school systems that we support in North Carolina. So we're pretty local. We're proud of our network, and we hope that the students and the faculty have benefited from our quality of service and reliability. We've been a partner in providing the infrastructure and internet services for the school system since 2016. And our contract with the county is coming close to an end. So there was an RFP process, as the board knows, that was put out to the street. We rebidded and sent in our proposal, and we extended a $200 per site discount from what you are paying currently. Based on your staff's recommendation, it was brought to our attention that you approved a contract with another provider to provide the managing wide area networks, and does not have a proven track record of success building these networks, and has failed to publicly succeed in doing so. They have not disclosed any evidence that it has a fiber optic network in place that could be used to serve not just the staff here, but also your students. We have some significant concerns around the bidding process. And our concerns that USAC, that provides 70% of the funding for all these services, will have some concerns as well. It's just one example of the matrix scoring of the RFP process. An experience rating to this nearly formed company that you all chosen to provide your services had a rating that was almost 2 times that of a decades-old, multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar company. We outlined our concerns to the board, so I believe you all are up to speed on some of our concerns and our next steps in the process. It's important to ensure that the proper bid procedures that are needed in the county
Mr. Padula, thank you. Next, we have Ms. April Lee.
Good evening to the board and to Dr. Bracy. My name is April Lee. I am president of Johnston County Association of Educators. I'm a teacher here in Johnston County Public Schools, but most importantly, I'm a mom of students here in Johnston County Public Schools. I wanted to talk tonight about some data I have compiled from North Carolina Department of Public Instruction statistical profile. It's public. You can go see the website on DPI yourself. But I have some information about per pupil expenditures. And as we are getting ready, I'm sure, to negotiate again with our county commissioners, and as they have a retreat at Campbell University next week, I thought I would bring some of this data kind of to the forefront. So we've compiled some data about per pupil expenditures dating back to 2003-2004 school year. And for that data, we have adjusted it according to the January 2022 inflation rate. Just to hit some highlights, in the 03-04 school year, Johnston County spent $2,461 per student. Our best year, we ranked 32 out of our 115 districts that year. In 2010 and 11 school year, our best standing, we ranked 18th in per pupil expenditures at $2,807 per student. And we have kind of been in a slow decline ever since. In the 1920 school year, our per pupil expenditure was $1,918. And this year, our per pupil expenditure is $1,615, ranking us at 83rd of the 115 school districts in the state. So I'm bringing this to light here because I know you guys get funding from the federal part, you get funding from the state. All of it is earmarked for very specific things as we spend it. We've got the ESSER funds, but we know that those are all non-recurring, and so we have to be careful about how they are spent. And so the variable comes in with our county commissioners, right? Those are the people who give us funding, and they like to tell it all the time. Well, we just write them the check, and they spend it however they want to, right? This is what I hear from my county commissioners. So I just want to bring this to light, put it out there in public, that right now, our county commissioners have made it so that we are only spending $1,650.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Stacy Lee.
I'd like to thank you as a board for what you do. I know you're volunteers, and you spend a lot more time you do just here at the board and thinking and considering the education for our kids. On my sign-up sheet today, I put down educational influences, and I'd like to tell you something. At the Campbell University, I had a 2-semester course in U.S. history. The second semester, I was about 20 years old. Dr. Tripp stood up and he said, we were talking about leaders, and he said, there's some very, very brilliant minds up there in politics. He says, but some of them are attached to evil hearts. And that's what worries me. I want to encourage you to let you are responsible for Johnston County children, and I know you know that. The state of North Carolina was going to do away with U.S. history, pre-Civil War U.S. history in 2006. I was there. I was one that walked in that day. We've got to guard ourselves against those people who are above us, who make rules that we feel like we in America, we're taught to trust and obey. And then we're a busy people, probably the busiest in the world. I've got a gentleman I brought up earlier, Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland is in the center of a line. On this side is the Panorama program, which is CRT. I found out since I met the last time that they are a nonprofit, and it's easy to get money if you're a nonprofit. And I realized on their website that they had received a $60 million grant. And I got reading about that thing. You know who that grant was from? It was from Mr. Cancel Culture himself, Mr. Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, he'll cut you off Facebook. We're doing business with a person like that. He was supporting their program. They were supporting his program, evidently. On the other end of the stick, we have the domestic terrorism thing that I didn't finish. The domestic terrorism thing, we thought it started with that National School Board Association. It didn't. It said, last time I spoke, it started there, went to the president. There was no communication, I'm sure, about that. Mr. Garland said, I didn't know anything about it until I got the letter. Then he went to the FBI 4 days later, and they put this thing out. But the real story goes back to the department cabinet position of education, Mr. Miguel Cardona. That's where all this stuff started. And that's the way it works. It worked that way in collusion, trials, and all this thing. I want to encourage you to be independent enough that you can answer to the Johnston County people and say, we made that decision. It didn't come.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Our last speaker tonight is Ms. Catherine McFarland.
Thank you for hearing me tonight. I'm here on behalf of Gray Wolf Homes to express our sincere and grave disappointment in not being included in tonight's meetings. We were requested to be heard over some basic easements that would affect Swift Creek Middle School over off Norris Road. Our requests were sent in 3 to 4 weeks ago, back on February 18th, and we were told at that time we still had plenty of time to get on March's board meetings. We were also led to believe that we would be on your agenda. After several emails and calls that were left unanswered, last Friday I received a call that we would not, in fact, be on the agenda, which I then confirmed when I looked at it after it was posted. The easements are simple. They contain not only improvement to Johnston County schools and roads, they're an improvement that's required by NCDOT and by the Board of Commissioners. The easements are required for widening of a turn lane and paving of an already existing easement on the property, which leads to a pump station that serves the area and the school. Gray Wolf Homes aims to leave all areas that we develop in better condition than we originally found it. And in this instance, his school would be improved to be in better condition than when we originally found it. I would also like to clarify as well that not hearing us today not only extends our schedule, but extends the inevitable, as Johnston County Public Utilities, the commissioners, and the planning department set our requirements, as well as NCDOT, and we will have to address these regardless. As a company, we are comprised of Johnston County residents and of parents, and as a company, we are fully committed to improving and preserving the county that we are in. And we are horrified that the quality and safety of our Johnston County students is not being heard and is being placed on a back burner, let alone being questioned at all. We ask that going forward, we have a more rapid solution and that these safety concerns are addressed as they're presented to you and not at your convenience. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public comments tonight.
This deserves a response. What Gray Wolf Company is asking of your school system is to allow an easement out of a planned development with, I believe, 169 homes. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I believe you have to have, what, 2 entrances into that to be able to go ahead. Is that correct?
We're being required to have an emergency access easement.
Which requires more than 1 entrance, correct?
That's correct.
They're requesting of the school system that we give them an easement that will go down, that includes a path to a water lift station, sewer station, that the school system paid for out in that area to get water and sewer to the school. They are also requesting that that same easement will allow them to have traffic coming out of that 169 home development on our drop-off lane to that school that is a one-way lane. Now, we have done all of the highway requirements of DOT for our school property. We have turn lanes, we have deceleration lanes. If their driveway is in fact going to be up from, one of their driveways is up from our driveway. What they are required to do, I'm assuming, is put a turn lane in for their development, coming one way for left turn, and a deceleration lane coming from the right way. So, you know, there's no way, you know, this is not something that the public will benefit from when the majority of traffic going and coming is going to be when parents are coming to that school to drop off children, and parents are going to be leaving a subdivision going to work. So that is what is being asked of us. Now, Gray Wolf has opportunity. This is the easy out. Just, it's right beside us, let's ask for it. There are other opportunities that these folks have to get an answer and solve their problem, and I'm sure it's more expensive than what you're asking of us. So from our standpoint, you know, this is, you know, we're not as delinquent as we're being
portray you.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I would just ask, I see the gentleman and lady from Grey Wolf Home shaking their head no. Can we just cease this at this time and then allow them to come back next month and discuss this as an agenda item? Can we do that? I think that would be the most prudent and fair thing to do.
Absolutely. I'll make sure that you're on our April meeting. And we'll make sure that we have send all the documentation to us, Mr. Corbett, Ms. McFarland, and we'll get with Mr. Brooks more, and we'll be glad to hear you out in the April meeting. You can send it to me directly. Mr. Corbett has my email. Thank you. At this time, we'll call on Dr. King again.
Board members, as I previously said, our final item for tonight also focuses on our summer learning program. Tonight, Christy Stevenson will come forward and talk about our summer program testing plan.
Good evening. There's no state policy that currently exists that allows for retesting. However, they do recognize summer programs as additional learning opportunities outside the regular school year, and therefore re-administration of the end of grade and end of course assessments are permissible for those students who were not proficient on the assessments during the regular school year, after there is a period of remediation and reteaching. So as part of our summer learning program, Johnston County Schools will offer the re-administration of the end of grade and NC Extend 1 test in reading, math, and science during the week of June 27th to eligible students. Eligible students are those that did not pass the assessment during the traditional school year and has participated in at least 5 hours of remediation and reteaching opportunities in the subject to be assessed. If there are circumstances in which a student needs to assess prior to the week of June 27th, they may do so as long as they've had the 5 hours of remediation and testing occurs outside the traditional academic year, but before June 30th. High school students who scored not proficient on any fall or spring end-of-course tests include English 2, Math 1, Math 3, and Biology, may also test again. Testing will occur once the student has completed the requirements of the course and/or acquired the skills and knowledge necessary to recover the course credit. Opportunities for taking the end-of-course assessment again must occur after June 2nd, which is the last student day, and be completed prior to June 30th. The exception to that being English 2, which must be completed by June 23rd because there is constructed response items on that assessment, and they have to be sent off to be scored. Students passing the assessment will have positive impact on proficiency results for accountability purposes. It does not impact growth scores. Summer test plans must be approved by the Board of Education and submitted to DPI by April 1st. Therefore, we're requesting approval of our plan.
This is an action item, so I'll entertain a motion to approve this summer program test plan.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Andrews, second by Mr. Carroll. Any questions or comments?
When you said about the, just a quick question, you said about the high school students, so if I did not pass the course, I'm not retaking. How does that work?
So if a student did not pass the so high school is a little different. If a student did not pass the course, but they passed the exam, there's no need for them to retake the exam.
Okay.
However, if they did not pass the course and did not pass the exam, then they would had the opportunity
Okay,
to take
but
the exam.
but the exam could cause them not to pass the course. Doesn't it carry a
In
percentage?
high school, the exam counts as
Okay.
20%.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Well, we're getting down to less than a quorum here, aren't we? All in favor? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0, Ms. Stantz. Thank you, Ms. Christie.
Thank you.
Mr. Moore.
Good evening, everyone. The first item that I have tonight for you is the purchase of chiller equipment. There are three projects that are in the design stages to replace the air-cooled chiller equipment for West Clayton Elementary, Cleveland Elementary, and McGee's Crossroads Elementaries. Obtaining this equipment is estimated to take at least 22 to 26 weeks due to supply chain issues with the pandemic. Therefore, staff has prepared and advertised electronically a separate bid package for the purchase of just the chiller units. The purchase at this time will allow the design teams to continue with the designs and bid the install construction work while the units are on order. Staff recommends and requests the board to authorize the use of electronic bids because chillers are purchased on a global market and accept the low bid from Carrier Corporation for $599,064.99. This purchase will be funded by FY 21-22 capital funds. This is presented for action.
Motion by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Byrd. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Second item is for information. This is the combination of about 8 months worth of data collecting from local planning and municipality departments and providing a forecast of our current facility needs. So why are we here? Because adequate school infrastructure matters. A recent study in 2015 shows that from 16 to 42% impact on the yearly learning of students is due to the physical classroom space. That could be from the air not working, the right technology, or just adequate space. And so this here provides us the ability to communicate and collaborate with our county administration and commissioners. And I want to remind everyone that the ORED team that came last month and provided this data is an unbiased consultant that provides these data-driven needs. So quickly, let's touch on the history. They have been conducting our growth needs and locating school sites since 1994. That was back when we had just over 15,000 students. 23,000 students later, they are still providing forecasts and locating school sites. I'd like to point out the 16 schools that they recommended and helped locate from 2001 to 2010, but in the past 12 years we've replace 3 schools. So how accurate is their forecasting? Every year, they provide a forecast update. The actuals have always, other than last year with COVID impacts, been within 0.5%. 0.5% of over 30,000 students. So what trends and factors goes into that? Of course, childbirth, population growth, and approved, planned, and expected parcels. There is a track of the expected parcels for the last four years. I'd like to point out as of December 2021, when this most recent study was conducted, there were 19,827 parcels that were approved and planned and could be constructed at any time. So Johnston County continues to be a bedroom community for our neighbors and our own commercial industry, and continues to face strong growth. And so with that, our trend has been 0.55 students per parcel. And I'll add that this past year we added the virtual academy. At the 2-month enrollment, there were 1,416 students, and as of today there are 1,283. So that has since decreased as well. Currently tracking 223 developments across the district. Each green blip on that map is an active approved development. In the past, we've seen strong growth along the Clayton area and surrounding areas, but now it's creeping out to Wilson's Mills, even Smithfield, Benson, Four Oaks. It's widespread across the county. Estimated by 2025 are 202 developments to be completed, roughly 18,000 lots. Keep in mind that 0.55 student growth rate. 18,000 times 0.55 students per parcel is 9,900 students. Trends. In the last five years, including COVID, we have averaged an increase of 714 students per year, or 2.07% student population increase per year. So if a picture's worth 1,000 words, this one is worth 10,000. This graph right here is where all of that comes together and shows what the forecast is by school for the next 10 years. I would like to point out a few, if not all, but a few, such as Cooper, Wilson's Mills, Corinth Holders. Population there is exponential. Cooper will double in the next two years. Wilson's Mills as well. Middle school, high school chart. So what does all this mean? In the next 10 years, we expect to see an increase of 729 students per year, or a total of 19,662 elementary students, which we currently have a capacity for 16,802. That's 2,860 students over our current capacity. Keep in mind the average size of an elementary school is 700 students. Middle school, 9,587 students over our current capacity of 8,836, or 736 students. Our average size of our middle school, 751 new students. The average size of our current middle schools are 736 students. High school, 13,961 students by 2031, with our current capacity of 11,313. That's 2,648 students over our current capacity. The average size of our current high schools are 1,414 students. There are some private schools, charter schools coming. Everyone's heard Thales Academy towards Buffalo Road, ALA towards the airport. Even with those schools adding on, they account for a small dip in our projected in enrollment. And as I've heard Mr. Johnston say, we don't want to lose those students. We want to compete with those schools. So, but for worst case projections, this is projecting that students leave and completely fill those schools. You can still see a void of 9,120 seats in 7 years, 2029. We cannot forget our current schools though. We operate and maintain 5.5 million square feet of buildings on 1,613 acres. 22 of our schools are over capacity. 13 more are at capacity, and there are only 10 that are under capacity, but all are within 10% of capacity. Recall last year we opened Thanksgiving, so that allowed us to redistrict the best we could our elementary kids. And here's a staggering number for you. We have 186 mobile units comprising 201 classrooms accommodating our temporary growth needs. Our students go to school in 186 mobile units. Also, we have made a great effort in the past 25 years building schools, but you might not know the average age of our existing schools is 32 years old. Mechanical systems and all are designed with a life expectancy of about 20 years, but they're like cars, they're mechanical. Some don't last that long, some last longer. So we have HVAC needs along with building envelope needs, roofs, windows, even modernization needs with our much older campuses. Also, outdoors, we have bleachers, parking lots, tracks, on campus needs. So, what is the recommendation? 4 new elementary schools, coupled with 4 expansions to existing elementary schools, 1 middle, expansions to two middles, 1 new high, and 1 expansion to a high school. Each one, our greatest needs, the high school, located approximately in the Wilson's Mills, Powhatan area. I want to point out that we are requesting hoping to build a much larger school so we can accommodate this growth with one school. So we plan to build a 2,000 student capacity school, and per NCDPI requirements for all the spatial needs with that school has to be 275,000 square feet. Don't forget that that school has ball fields. We have to run sewer to it, purchase the land, purchase the books, the curriculum needs, technology. There's so much that goes into building a new school beyond just the brick and mortar. So that school would take about 3 years to build. We would start the next year, and projected to cost $102 million. Construction costs have increased about 50% in the last 3 years. I was at the recent state construction conference last week, and steel has gone up 136%. Wood 89%, copper 70%. So this school, I like to use the analogy of a puzzle. If you pull the pieces back for each school and put a new piece in the middle, that new piece touches all the surrounding puzzle pieces. So as you can see, that puzzle piece would help Corinth, Clayton, Cleveland, Smithfield, Selma, South Johnston, West Johnston. Next would be a new elementary school in the Swift Creek area. A much larger school, 970 student capacity per NCDPI that requires there's 125,000 square feet of spatial needs. And this school would help Polina, Westview, Cleveland, also McGee's, West Clayton, Wilson's Mills. Next is another elementary school in the Clayton area, kind of between Cooper and Riverwood. As I mentioned, the growth in Cooper Riverwood area is exponential. So that is a critical school there. Also, adding a middle school in the Thanksgiving area with the capacity of 1,380 students to help Archer Lodge, Cleveland Middle, and Riverwood Middle. Elementary school number 3 in the Reedy Creek area. This one would go down and help Benson, Four Oaks, also Wilson's Mills, but you have Dixon Road, McGee's, and West Smithfield that need help as well. Elementary school number 4, also in the Archer Lodge area, the East Clayton area. Same size, continued support for Cooper, Wilson's Mills, Corinth Holder, Riverdale, at that point, Thanksgiving, Riverwood, and West Clayton. Also, due to the pockets of substantial growth, there's also needs for isolated expansions. Those were Cleveland High, Cooper Academy, Cleveland Middle, Benson Elementary, Court Holders Elementary, Princeton Elementary, and Four Oaks Middle. So I'm sure you're wondering now, how much is this going to cost? Johnston County Schools to accomplish their growth needs and accommodate that growth needs a bond referendum of $705 million to accomplish this. And within 4 years, that is an aggressive amount of construction. But if you saw the forecast chart, we have to be aggressive because we are fixing to be in a critical state of capacity. So what does that look like? It puts us back on the right side of capacity, but just for a short time. So again, we need $705 million to accommodate this growth. As Mr. Carroll mentioned, we have met and continue to meet with county officials to discuss our needs. Only a bond referendum or capital funds can accomplish this. No other funds can go towards construction of schools. A bond is a long-term finance construction loan the county must provide. This plan adds capacity for 9,679 students, or 25% of the projected population. Most importantly, and why we're all here, is the education of kids. Adequate space will support the recruitment and the retention of teachers. Eliminates the need for 173 of those mobiles that we don't use for temporary space. We use for permanent, ongoing space. Reduces class size, improves safety. It gets kids and staff back in the school. Maximizes funding with those 7 additions. And again, I can't emphasize, if you look back at that chart, this is a critical time because places like Cooper, I don't know where the kids will go. There's not space to keep adding mobiles. So we have to do something, and we have to do something substantial because the growth is substantial. I'm finished.
That, it should be 720. Is that right? Let's see, 195, 190, 165. I think that's gonna be 720. Yeah, 720 million.
Pretty sure. If you add those slides up, it's 705. If you add all the slides up, it is 705 million.
What'd you get? If we add the numbers in that column right there, they come to 720.
Okay.
170, 195, 190, 165, comes to 720 on our sheet here.
Okay.
Make that correct.
Yeah, make that before.
Go back. What, this is great presentation. Can we talk?
Absolutely.
Great presentation, and, as Mr. Carroll said, you know, we shared this with the commissioners. One thing there's a lot that stands out to me. You know, obviously, this is urgent. You know, this is not, wait and see, this is urgent to provide a quality education for our kids and a place for them. I think one of the things that stands out to me is when we start talking about these new elementary schools and adding, folks, we're gonna have some big elementary schools, and that just, as a former elementary teacher, you know, we have what, maybe 2 elementary schools in our district now that are 900 or 1,000 kids. We're gonna have a whole lot more than that. And that's a different bird. We have no choice, but that's a different bird to have an elementary school with 1,000 children in it. I'm just
Well,
telling you. But we don't have any choice. I'm just saying, this is part of the repercussions of the growth.
I would rather build them that size and grow
Absolutely.
into
I
it.
understand completely why you're doing it.
The
but
lunchroom.
But as an educator, 1,000 students in an elementary school is a lot of children. It's a lot different to have 1,000, and we would have 1,000 middle school. We have a middle school in Johnston County with 1,000 kids in it. Where? Archer Lodge. Anybody else?
Riverwood did.
Riverwood now?
Not in Wood Creek.
Yeah,
Some other
but you know what I'm saying? When you start talking, you know, when you start talking about having elementary and middle schools with 1,000 students in them, that's different than having a high school with 1,000 kids in them. I'm just telling you, I've been there, done that. But anyways, thank you. This is great, and but I just think we have to understand that's part of this.
Couple of key points, Brooks. Take back to your staff and facilities. Our average schools are 32 years old, but you walk in the majority, if not all, of our schools, and you can't tell how old they are, with the exception of a few that are dated. But our facility staff and the custodians at the schools take pride in them and really do a fantastic job. Also, the data, and if you can go back to that slide with ORED, I mean, they've pretty been spot on since we started using them as far as their recommendations of our growth. So that is critical in our decision and planning that we take their data into consideration. And then growing 729 students per year. I mean, roughly that's an elementary school or a middle school if your information is, if I heard it correctly, you know, not quite a high school. So with all this in mind, I mean, we're growing in Johnston. There it is right there. Go back one. There you go. Except in COVID, but other than that, they've been spot on.
Oh, yeah.
And so when we start planning, this is critical information, as we've all seen over the years, that its history just provides us with the documentation that they're accurate. But we're growing elementary or middle school a year, depending on how you want to put it. But yeah, we are in a critical stage, and whether it's 705 or 720, it's a lot of money. Yeah, it is. It is it is 720 based on that slide. But anyway, it's still a lot of money, so a lot of we appreciate all the information you put together for these slides and diving into the weeds, because this is something that we need to really take a look at as we start planning for the future.
Well, it shows that we aren't just sitting there with a map picking places with darts or anything. I mean, this is highly data driven to place these schools and make these recommendations.
And you know, you used the word spot on. I remember it's been about a year now. We sat in a room with the county commissioners. I can't remember exactly who it was, but one of the county commissioners said, "You're going to need 5 schools." I'm sorry for failing to recall that, but they called you out on your name on that, Brooks Moore, and they told us that. So I can't recall, but yes, sir. But I'm glad to see that matches up with what they said, and you know, costs have definitely inflated. We all know that. I mean, it's as simple as a bag of chips, a home look what it cost last year, look what it cost this year. This is sticker shock for a lot of us, and given $720 million is a lot of money, but it is what is necessary to build 5 schools. That's not arguable. You know, there's been a lot of people in this county who have reaped the rewards of reducing lot sizes and placing houses on those. And there's a place for people who want to live like that. And they deserve quality education. They deserve quality facilities. So I don't want to sell someone a home in Johnston County and move them here and then get shortchanged when it comes to their education experience. You know, I respect a lot of people in this county, and a lot of people I talk to are builders. And I remember one guy told me, and I respect this, he said, you know, Ronald, we just need to know what the rules are. We need to know the growth plan for this county. And I know we have ORED impacts, you know, they have projections, but I'd be interested to see at a county level what impact 2,000 homes has on a police department, a fire department, you know, social services, the school system, because by bringing all these homes here, you're providing people with places to live, but you're reducing their quality of life by not providing them the services they deserve. So we argue about $10 million here, local funding for the school systems. I just want to say that one more time. You sell somebody a home here, and you reduce their quality of life, and you reduce the quality of life of the people who are already here by not giving them the quality governmental services they deserve by shortchanging them on the funding. Thanks.
I think we need to say, because it is a big number, $720 million is a big number. And, you know, in our conversation, we know that we're not going to get $720 million in 22. And that's as early, I think, November of 22 would be when this bond would be on the ballot. Is that correct? And the process that the public needs to understand in terms of these red charts and green and yellow charts is in the years, when the bond passes in November, you know, we don't have the money immediately. It's got to be sold. If they start the school, all right, November 22, it'll be fall of November, January 23 before we start a school, correct? Somewhere around there. I mean, you're not going to be able to jump on it. Plus,
That's right.
we don't have a land for it right now. We got to buy the land. But you'll be starting the school in 23, 24. Takes 2 years for an elementary school. So that's going to be 23, 24, 24, 25. So the fall of 25 is as soon, if everything goes well, as that school, elementary school, will be open. In the fall of 25, we will be 1,000 elementary students under capacity. We have 1,000 more students than we can accommodate, have seats for. Now, there's some green, if you look at this, there are some green schools that have capacity. And the problem, you know, maybe we could put kids in those seats. But I don't think that, given the location of where the overcapacity is, and with 90% of our schools, is that right, being within 10% of capacity, that's going to be eaten up pretty quick. But the idea that, you know, if we don't have adequate funds to build these seats, that we will have to find a way to put children in different areas or play with that is not palatable to any of us. And I don't think we want to go there, because this county can afford to do, over time, we can afford to do the $720 million. We got to work together. What we've got to figure out is, you know, what the bond needs to be. So the pressing thing is, one, that high school and the middle schools. No, elementary, is that correct?
Correct.
And we did have a retreat with the county commissioners, and you did present some numbers to them, and it was pointed out that they didn't believe that was accurate. They thought it was low, and that we had capacity for a $250 million bond issue in this county. And I would submit to you that if we look at doing the high school 2 elementary schools that will meet our most pressing need. Now, high school is a 3-year process. So we're even going out another year, and in the fall of 28, if I'm not wrong, or it might not be quite that far, depending on bond capacity or what we do with the bond. But if you don't look at doing a high school right now, you're looking at postponing everything 2 more years, plus 3 years to build a school, so you're looking at 5 more years before you build another high school. We will be over about 1,600 and some students over capacity by that time. So, basically, we have to prioritize. I understand that. And we do want this bond to be successful, which I believe that it would be and will be. But, what we're discussing with the county commissioners right now is where do we need to be on this first bond? And I think they were fairly accurate when they, at 250 is about where we should be to get us to 24 when we could do another bond to start addressing these other schools. So, it's just going to have to be like eating an elephant. We got to take a bite now, another bite in 2 years, another bite in 6 years, or 4 years. So don't let the 720 blow everybody's mind, although it is mind-blowing. It's not going to be done overnight. And Brooks will tell you this. There's no way in the world that we can, if we had 720, we couldn't spend it all in the next two years anyway. So just trying to have everybody think about, the overcapacity, the time frame to build a school, and how much money you need to build, prioritize, and get to the next bond issue so then we can move on forward. So that is a lot to say, is that, about 1,000 elementary students and about 1,500, about 1,600 high school students before these schools can be open, when and if we get the funding for it.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Yeah, one last thing, Mr. Carroll, you hit on one big thing is land. We need a lot of acreage based on these schools and the size. And, we know this county's growing, and we have a lot of people jockeying for the best land in the county to build other houses, but unfortunately, they're not making land anymore. So we've got to strategize on how we can make this happen, because we're in the same process of trying to get land, just like they're trying to get land to make money, but we have to have the schools. So like what Mr. Johnston said, the quality of life. So we got to keep that in mind too. So we need to have the developers, in conversations with us as well, because it's critical that we can continue to build schools with the short supply of land.
And Mr. Chairman, thank you for saying that. And part of the conversation is too, because of the cost of land, scarcity of land, where we can, maybe limit the land mass that we need to build a school, more specifically your elementary schools. We have had the conversation that we need to look at going up 2 stories, 3 stories. But keep in mind, in an elementary school, Dr. Bracey, everybody keep me right on this, you cannot put a K-3 child above a second floor. So
Can't put them on the second floor, is that right?
Can't you put K-3 to the second floor?
Third grade through 5th grade cannot go on elevated floors.
3rd through 5?
3rd through 5.
K3 or 3 through 5 can go on.
K2 has to stay on ground level.
K2 has to be on 1 or 1st or 2nd floor.
Correct.
So, whether capacity, do we need to go 3? But that needs to be part of the consideration. But, folks need to know we're talking about all these things because we want to, one, you know, we're looking at $720 million, and we want to be able to accomplish all these things within that amount of money. The problem that you will face in middle school and high school is athletic fields, soccer fields, ball fields, football, baseball, tennis, parking, not so much in the middle, but certainly high schools. So there are areas that we can, you know, make some alterations that will help in terms of maybe land purchase, but, you know, it ain't gonna be like we're gonna save, you know, a ton of land, I'm afraid.
Thank you, Brooks.
Mr. Moore, I know Ms. Furr has access to this, but I would like for this presentation, it's very informative, to be prominently featured on our website.
Sure.
And get the word out to our community via social media platforms so they can go refer to this presentation on our website.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Mr. Vetrano.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening again, board members. Mr. Moore and I did not plan this, but it was great that he presented right before I came up here because as we just discussed, the massive growth that we have had already in our school system and the projected growth that will be there, in addition to the facilities that we need staff to be able to serve our students in all of these facilities. And so before you this evening, I have for your consideration and approval, Educational Partners International Services Agreement. I think you already know that we partner with companies such as Participate, formerly VIF, also Global Teaching Partners, and this is another company that we would like to partner with to basically look at all of our resources to attract teachers to our school system. We have over 60 international teachers working in our schools this year. We've already committed to 15 or so more for next year, and with your approval in this company, we hope to even add more. It's becoming more and more challenging for school systems, especially school systems such as Johnston County Public Schools, who are growing. You know, some LEAs out there, their ADM is sort of stagnant. So they're not really growing. They're just having to replace teachers who may retire or who transition to another LEA. But we're having to maintain, and then we're having to add every school year our staff to support the growth. The Educational Partners International, they provide opportunities for international educators and school districts to participate in a mutually beneficial cultural and professional experience. They accomplish this by temporarily placing educators, international educators, in school systems throughout several states, including North Carolina. Mr. Malone has been working with this company to finalize this agreement. We have a draft agreement in place, and we're asking that you approve this services agreement subject to minor changes acceptable to our attorney and our superintendent. I'm sorry.
Cost?
Yes, sir. There are fees per educator. Usually it's a wash, and I'll explain. The Department of Public Instruction allows us to convert positions each school year, these international positions. And so what we do is we list these positions, and they give us, through that conversion, the average salary of a teacher. So typically that conversion allows us not only to pay for the salary of the teacher, but to also pay for the fee that this company charges the school system. So it is typically at no cost to the school system.
This is temporary, so you mentioned temporary, so they're here for
3 years, but we can ask for a 2-year extension. The most is 5 years.
They can at least stay 3 years.
Correct.
So it's not a 1-year thing.
No, ma'am.
Right.
We're experiencing 5 years for most of our international teachers. And then they can actually go back to their home country, stay, I think, at least a year, and then they're eligible to return if they so choose.
Have they taken a look at it?
Yes, sir.
They cool with it?
Yes, sir.
This is an action item, so I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Andrews, second by Mr. Byrd. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Petrano.
And if you give me 30 seconds, sir, I just want to take advantage of a moment to advertise. Talking about our staffing, we do have our annual job fair. It is an in-person event this school year. It's Saturday, April 2nd at West Johnston High School from 9 to 12. We've been promoting this. In fact, Channel 17 picked it up over the weekend. They did a 30-second segment on it. So we just want to get the word out that we are hiring. We will be offering early contracts on that day. So West Johnston High School. And this is on our website too. Ms. Caitlin's done a great job getting this promoted on our website as well. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Pierce.
Good evening again, board members. I have two items for action this afternoon. The first one is transportation procedures. So Johnston County Public Schools currently has 83 full-time driver-only employees. We currently need 478 drivers each day to drive 278 buses that run both morning and afternoon on a multi-tier routing system. On the estimated 758 classified staff required to drive a bus, 540 employees are fully licensed to drive, 182 need a bus class, and 62 need behind-the-wheel training, which takes, we have quite a few delays right now based on the procedures for that. We currently have 17 full-time routes that have no drivers, and we're having to use subs, and 29 part-time routes every day that we have no full-time or no drivers assigned that we're having to use subs on. So based on this and several things that we're looking at in transportation on how to improve and become more efficient overall in transportation services, we're bringing you two recommendations today. The first one is that we implement and enforce a rider de-assignment process for students who do not ride the bus for 10 or more days without reason, we understand that students are in sports, they get sick, things of that choice. There will be a process that we will run through administration to make sure that those students were not de-assigned. And second of all, that transitioning starting July 1st, 2022 to a hub transportation model for current and future students being transported to application and choice programs. This recommendation comes with the possibility of being able to not run up to 24 buses moving to the hub assignment location and decreasing our fleet and increasing our efficiency.
Thank you, Dr. Pierce. This is an action item. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Andrews,
A second.
second by Mr. Johnson. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, as far as students who will be transported to a hub, that model, they'll be transported by our buses, correct? They will not require parent transportation?
So in the hub model, parents would be having to transport them to a pickup spot in their school district already. From there, we would transport them to their school that they have chosen.
What if we have someone with an inability to provide their own transportation? They just would opt out of the program that they were in?
And that's the only way they would be allowed transportation, yes, sir.
And there's
Just for the sake of the public, if you talk about application choice programs, just give us.
Yes, so these would be programs that parents and students have applied for: IB, AVID, JOCO Teach, Innovation Academy, Early College, CTLA.
So if I live in the Cleveland area and I go to Innovation Academy, I would go to, and I'm obviously in middle school, I would go to the middle school
So we don't want to give the exact sites
'Cause you
yet,
don't know
because
yet.
we need to see who opts in, and we would try
Right.
to make that the most efficient, but it would be deemed a pathway route, is what we would call it. Our other large districts are following the same model, so then the people in that area will be told, you can go to this spot at this time for a ride to Innovation, and then you get a ride back to that spot in the afternoon for pickup.
Do we know what percentage of our kids in these programs utilize our bus transportation? You have any? That's a tough question.
So percentage-wise, I don't know if I have the right percentage. I can give you some numbers that I know
Okay.
for a fact. So I know for IB, 79 students are using the transportation. Avid, I have 60. Joco Teach, I have 14 for 157 that are transported to Smithfield Selma High School. And Innovation has 228 that are assigned buses. And Early College has 184, and CTLA has 102. That's who are assigned. So that's 157 students on 28 buses, and we would have the potential to park at least, I'm being told, maybe as many as 8.
But I also don't want any students to miss out on the programs if they're currently enrolled.
Students have already applied?
So there are current students already in the program, and the application is already in progress. Students have not been selected for next year as of yet, but yes, students have already new students have already started applying.
But if I'm in those programs, am I automatically in them for the next year? I have to reapply every year.
No, you just have to do a reassignment.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I'm already in those programs, I very well may lose my transportation.
As of July 1st, if this recommendation is approved, yes.
Can we see, once everything is done, can we look and see how many of these students may not have transportation based on any ability to get to one of these hubs?
I can see what we can find out to figure that out.
And just thinking on the fly, and I could be completely wrong here, but wouldn't there be a way to incorporate a route? Let's just say if I'm going to CTLA and I live in the Corinth district, why couldn't I get on a bus that goes to the Corinth Hub School? Why couldn't I be incorporated in that route? Does that make sense? I mean, I know I'm thinking on the fly here, but.
So we would have to
that's one.
change the schedules of their arriving school. So if you take the first high school route starts about 4:40 in the morning, a.m. in the morning. And so if they were trying to get to Triple S High School for that route, they would need to, it wouldn't work out for a hub to a hub, if that makes sense. Yeah, if I'm understanding your question.
I think what he might be saying, see if I'm right, it's like, if I don't have a way from my house to get to that hub, and just think about this, is there a way for me to catch a bus from my house to the hub and then get on another bus to head to the, I don't know.
I don't have that answer, I can tell you that.
Is
yeah.
that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
So that I'm not stuck at home and can't get to the hub.
Let's talk about Cleveland High School, kids that go there. That bus leaves, probably comes through the neighborhood at 6 something. Triple S bus comes through about 5:30. So they're gonna have to be there earlier than the regular bus would to go to the hub if it's Cleveland High School, and then turn around and go all the way back to Smithfield.
Oh, yeah.
It's not possible.
Okay, that's what I was asking. I don't know.
You'd have to change school schedules.
Right.
Well, I mean, I know we contract services. If a child is not able to provide their own transportation, we need to have an option. If we have admitted them into a program, I just do not think it's fair to say July 1, you're out of that program, because people base their futures on the programs that they've already been admitted to. I just don't feel like it's fair to July 1. I want to do this to save money. I get it. I understand why we're doing it, but I don't want a child to miss out because we're taking some type of change in direction on how we're doing transportation. I just don't think that's fair. I mean, can we commit to, contracted services? I know we have different people who provide transportation services outside the bus.
So it's hard to commit without the financial, we want to tell the whole story. What the financial numbers would be. That's just off the top of my head, that sounds like it's pretty expensive.
We may be able to at least go to it this year. Let's see what kind of hardships come up. If they're not, that many, we may be able to figure out a way to deal with it so nobody is left out like you're talking about, Ron. 'Cause, we can always tweak it to try to make it work for everybody, but if we find out it's a great big disaster, then, we gotta respond.
I agree. Let's look at it and see how many we need to accommodate that do not have any transportation to this hub. And then we can come back and analyze it as a group to make decisions, because I don't think any of us want any student to be left out of a program that they really enjoy, and that's the only reason they want to go to school.
Yeah, but think about, when Innovation Academy is a wonderful, wonderful resource for our kids. But when that was open, it was the I-95 corridor, and then we allowed other kids, you know what I'm saying? And so we set ourselves, I mean, when if you've got 156 kids on how many buses?
So there's 28 total buses there.
We're driving a lot of buses, we're spending a lot of fuel and I'm not saying it's not worth it, but I'm just saying, let's talk about efficiency here. When you've got 2 or 3 kids on a bus. We just that's just the reality of this, but I think let's see what happens.
So, when you say let's see what happens, because you said that too, what was that?
I think we were trying to see what was the impact of this, is that what you're saying?
Yes, I think we move forward. If this passes, we move forward with it, and then see how many hardships we have that cannot get transportation means, and let us come back and based on the information you get, Dr. Pierce, and we can look at that situation and make a decision on it.
So when you find out next August, is that what you're saying?
No, I think we find out before then.
Okay.
When I know routes, you're already working on routes for next year.
So what it would, and I'm talking on the fly here now, so I may have to regroup, so, but what it would take us doing is, one, once students are accepted, because they will not get their information, I believe, until April. Am I correct on that, David?
Middle of April.
Yeah, new students will not get their information that they've been assigned to these schools till April. Then they'll have to make a decision on whether they want to select and take the seat. At that time, they need to know what, in my opinion, what this means. So does it mean they've got it? Does it mean they're going to a hub? And then once we know from there, we would then determine the hub sites so that we can be as efficient as we can in transportation. Understanding that transportation has to play within some rules. Students can't be on a bus but so long. There's a lot of rules we're paying with this, with state money to be as efficient as possible. So I don't want to promise anything, but I just need to know exactly what you're wanting.
I think correct me if I'm wrong up here, but if we can add another box on there in the questionnaire or whatever in this application, do you have means of transportation to a hub? And then if they have no means of transportation to a hub, then we need to know that how many that's going to affect so that we can reconvene to see what we can do to accommodate them.
I feel like I need to say this out loud. With that question being asked and that having a determining factor on any program someone's admitted to, then we're kind of restricting access based on a parent's capability to provide transportation. I mean, I know, I get what you're saying. I think we're all got our heart in the right place here, but.
I'm just trying to, so we can get an accurate number, not for anything else, but I see that being something they may look at, but I'm just trying to say, how many is this going to affect so that we can bring this back up and make a decision on how we can accommodate them with transportation.
And I'm assuming the hubs will be geographically located, so nobody's going to have an extra long distance to get to a hub.
Yes, sir. We would go to each of their, so it would be somewhere in their home school assigned area already.
Right.
Potential was to reduce it by 24 buses, and that's not what we're about here, but, so how many buses are left?
So if you use the SSS situation or Smithfield-Selma, they currently have 28 buses. If this model was put into place, they would only need 20 buses.
So 8 would be.
So that would be 8, that would be the impact just on that. And then it would continue You know, currently 14 at Innovation, we would only need to go down to 4. So you real quick, you start seeing how,
So this won't be, the information won't be in for the April meeting, is that correct?
no, sir.
Okay, so do you want us to bring that information back to the May meeting?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I think we need the information to see the impact.
So,
I mean, and for those of you who, I mean, is this, is this realistic?
You know,
Many large districts operate under the hub model.
Yeah, I don't see how
think
we
it's
can avoid
realistic.
it for long.
I think it's realistic. We just have to see, you know, what the real impact in terms of the folks that are already there can do, because you know, these are special programs that people really want to go to. And, you know, a lot of times in high school, and the children drive anyway.
I think it should be, not to interrupt, but I think it also should be acknowledged that not all special programs have transportation currently. So we do have some other
It may not
application
be
schools
as big
that don't
issue
have
as we think it is.
in our district. Yeah,
We don't want to deny kids that would like to go, the opportunity to go.
right.
I'm with you.
Thank you.
All right.
so we have a motion and a second. Do we want to move forward with this tonight, and then they bring the information back to us at the May meeting? Okay. So all in favor of moving forward this, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Doug.
All right, so the last item on the agenda is CAP school list for the 22-23 school year. Each year, as Board Policy 4100 states, the Board of Education is to get the information by June 1st, and they are to identify schools that will not receive any new reassignment requests for the upcoming school year. Our window for renewal reassignments is now open, and the new reassignment window opens May 15th. Provided is the list of exceeding capacity schools, CAP schools, and the CAP schools were determined based on design capacity minus the total number of students. Schools that do not have at least 51 seats available or more based on the design capacity were deemed CAP schools. We also may have to cap grades, and I think this is important to state. There may be schools that are not on the CAP school list, but they have to cap grades because of the K-3 legislation. In which situation adding one student to that school could cause the board to have to hire another teacher for that school because of numbers. And so this would be done based on the following criteria, making sure we have at least one student seat available for the home school. And so attached to the list that we asked for you to approve, and I would like to make known that we have 5 new schools that have been added: Glendale Kinley Elementary, Powhatan Elementary, Princeton Elementary, West Clayton Elementary, and Wilson Mills Elementary.
Thank you, Dr. Pierce. This is an action item, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the CAP school list for 22-23 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Andrews, second by Mr. Johnson. Any questions or comments?
None of these schools.
These are whole school, right? There may be other schools that have to do grade CAP.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries 5-0. With no further business to come for us tonight, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Andrews, second by Mr. Carroll. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. We're adjourned.